Good evening. My name is Susan Stevenson, and I'm the chair of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation. I'm calling this meeting on July 9th, 2018 to order. Do I have a motion to open the meeting?
I make a motion that we open this meeting of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation on July 9th, 2018.
Second?
Second?
Jeff seconds. All in favor?
No, you need a roll call. You need a roll call.
Rob?
Aye.
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 Jeff?
Thank you.
First, I'd like to...
And you're an aye? Sorry.
Yes, I'm an aye. Sorry. First, I'd like to acknowledge Curtis Highsmith's long service to this board as chairman. 12 years requires dedication and sacrifice. In addition, his personal support of each board member is exemplary and much appreciated. So thank you, Curtis. Curtis is not here tonight, however, but I'm still thanking him. Secondly, I want to make it clear that in this room, I expect everyone will speak and act with civility. Anyone who intends to speak should sign in on this sheet up here, so we have a correct spelling of your name. And when you come up to speak, please spell your last name and give us your address. Any materials you have for presentation should be laid out on this table, and they should face the board so our videographer can pick up the documents. I'd like to introduce our board members tonight. Rob Coburn to my left, Christina Redding to my left, Jeff Broadley to my right, our counsel Bo Robinson, our recording secretary Antoinette Edwards, and Charles Styler, our videographer. Mr. Studenroth, our historic consultant, is not here tonight. So let's get started.
Okay, the published agenda doesn't have signage, but we do have 2 signage permits. Is there anyone here from Malbon Golf, representing the applications for Malbon Golf on Hampton Road? Okay.
All right, so I guess move on.
Do we need to make a motion to move on?
No, it's not on the agenda.
Okay, very good. The next item on the agenda are the written decisions. Let's start with the written decision for Jen Split Purchase Trust at 56 Gin Lane.
You have a written decision in front of you based upon the consensus of the board for approval. As the application was amended, an affirmative vote on the motion will be to approve the amended application.
I make a motion to approve the written decision for 56 Gin Lane.
Second.
Okay. How do you vote?
All in favor?
No, we have to, all in favor, but Rob, how do you vote?
Oh, aye.
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye also. The motion carries.
Can you spare me a copy?
Yeah, there's a copy here, Jeff.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Jim. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Now I have to sign this. Yeah. Do you want me to sign it? And then you sign the building thing. Both copies.
This is from the other meeting we did last week. Sorry about that. Because they sit down here.
Do you need us to say anything again, Charlie? Do you need us to say anything again for the record, or were you picking us up?
It's just that because the other board sits down here, so those...
No, that's not it.
We're just finding the right, correct.
Are you trying to sign the plans?
Yes.
Do that tomorrow.
Okay. I can't. I can do it tomorrow. I can do it too. If you want to, fine.
The next item on the agenda is another written decision This is for BLC Hillside Investments, LLC, for work at 132 South Main Street.
Similar to the previous decision, this is a decision approving the application as submitted. An affirmative vote will be to approve the application.
We have a motion to,
Make a motion that we approve the written decision for Hillside Investments.
second?
Second?
No. How do you,
You say all in favor?
no, you can't. How do you vote, Christina?
Aye.
Aye.
That's okay, Rob, I got you.
Okay.
Aye as well.
The motion carries.
That's right, you can't say all in.
No. So I'll just come back and sign that one.
Any copies? Any other copies?
Okay. Here you go,
We should
Rob.
approve our minutes from the previous meeting.
Yeah.
So,
Is that at the end or the beginning? Oh. Okay, I'm sorry. I skipped a, well, depends which thing we're reading. We need to approve the minutes of our previous meeting. Does anyone have any corrections that,
I think we had some that were made.
They were made.
So I make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected for the meeting of June 25th.
was it second?
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
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 Aye. I have nowhere to, so the motion carries.
The next application is for a certificate of appropriateness. This is from the Village of Southampton, and it involves one of the structures at the Historical Museum. It's to change the color from red to white, which is what it was originally.
Right. Your
Hello, my
name?
name is Paul Rogers. I'm from Chalif and Rogers Architects, here to represent the applicant, which is the Village of Southampton, together with the Southampton Historical Museum. I have the affidavit of posting and the affidavit of mailing. I guess we did not submit pictures, photographs of the original application. I have some here if you'd like them. Do you want me to lay them on the table or give them to you? Would you like the photographs on the table, or should I hand them to you?
Yes.
Just one copy, or do you have several
5
copies?
Five.
Why don't you put one down on the table, and we'll share up here. Thank you. And it should face us if you wouldn't mind. If the camera can get it. No, this just goes in the front. I'll take one of
You want to see all this?
these.
No, John, see that?
The project is very simple. It's a complete restoration of the exterior of the building. We're replacing the roofing with wood shingles. We're replacing all the wood shingles on the side walls because they're deteriorated. We're replacing some of the wood clapboard siding that's deteriorated, but most of it is to remain. We're repairing and replacing parts of the windows, but not changing anything. So in essence, it's really just returning it to its former grandeur. And the color, as was mentioned in the application, of the original building was white, and the cedar shingles that are in the gable ends and on the dormers, and in one case on the sidewall, were natural, and that's what we propose to do, to return them to be natural, unpainted.
And where there is currently cedar siding, you're replacing that with clapboard siding, and where there's shingles, you're replacing that with shingles.
Most of
you're replacing.
Most of the clapboard siding is intact.
Okay.
It will stay, we'll repair and replace whatever is missing, and it will be painted white. The trim will be painted white, the windows will be painted white, and the cedar shingles will be natural, left natural.
Does anyone have any objection to this?
Not at all.
It's lovely.
Public comment?
Is there any public comment? Okay. Do I have a-
Paul, is this building in the historic district?
It's part of the museum. I'm sure that puts it in the historic district, right?
I'm not sure a meeting has.
How do you
Not
do
either, that's
that?
why I'm asking.
I assumed it was. Frankly, I don't know.
It's actually in the yard of the museum.
Understand?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's in the district.
No,
All right, we'll check that out.
What would the implication of that be?
Sir,
written
excuse me?
decision.
What would be the implication of that if it's in the historic district?
Whether it's a listed asset or not?
Well, aren't all the buildings in the little complex there?
I don't know.
Okay.
Usually the applicant presents that evidence. So we'll check it out.
Okay, very good.
So do we have to adjourn to our next meeting? Or
Why don't you close for decision only?
Okay.
If it happens to come out, we'll
a motion to
contact.
close this application for decision only?
I make a motion that we close the application of this museum for the Village of Southampton for decision only.
We have a second?
Second.
Rob?
Aye.
Christina? Susan? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Rob, I'm getting, wait.
Kind of connecting all the stairs.
Oh, you are? The next application,
This application is
driveway gates,
driveway gates.
non-historic.
Correct. This is an application for Lucky Dove LLC on Culver Street, number 49 Culver Street.
I have, this application is incomplete. The affidavit of disclosure for the LLC is not in the file.
Do you have one?
I have the affidavits for posting and mailings.
Well, we'll take those, but there actually is an issue. It needs to be complete.
I can represent the applicant. I can make a representation under the civil practice law and rules and affirm to you who the principal of the LLC is.
Oh,
Principal of the LLC, I'm sorry, is
I think the document should be filled out. I don't think it's a question of
okay.
making
Mr.
representations.
Bennett, I actually stumbled across this because I had heard the word Lucky Dove in conversation, and so I was concerned. I came back to find it.
I didn't put the application in.
Okay,
Just
so
here
I
for
think
the
we just have to adjourn this to our next meeting without
It's your
prejudice.
pleasure.
Do I hear a
Don't you
motion?
want to take it subject to the document?
What?
Unless you
No,
want to
I
take it
think we should
subject
just come back.
Okay.
So is it adjourned to our next
You need to
meeting
move-
without...
you need to make a motion.
I make a motion that we adjourn the application of Lucky Dove for the driveway gates to our next meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Rob?
Yes, aye.
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 Okay.
Sorry. Next. Was it?
The next is driveway gates for 255 Flying Point Road, and it is an application from Evelyn Economopoulos. I hope I got that right.
Like Economy Economopoulos. This is the picture.
Affidavits. Yes.
Do you want these papers?
Is that the posting and mailing?
Yes, so there was the gate, we were away, and you remember the gate person made all these papers.
Do you have...
I just have the disclosure.
This is the picture right here.
Disclosure, but I don't have mailing or posting.
Uh-oh.
Let's see what this is.
I need to stand back.
I know.
I don't see affidavits in here.
Is there posting and mailing over there?
I'm getting through it, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I don't see it.
Let's see the affidavit.
There's survey, a work order, and there is like a mailing list, but there's no affidavit. Double checking. No, these aren't, that's not it. This is like paperwork for the work order. This is the work order.
This is the disclosure.
don't have affidavits of posting or mailing, so we don't have jurisdiction, Bo, is
Yeah,
that
we don't
correct?
have jurisdiction. You need to go to the building department and file an affidavit. First of all, you have to, is there a sign outside of the property? So you have to,
We just got back from here, but he did everything for County
Well-
Gate. And he posted the sign. I have all the names, as you can see over there.
right, but you need to actually have a legal document that says that you did so, that's
You
notarized,
did mail them.
that you mailed them, and that you put the sign up.
Two different documents. One is an affidavit of posting saying you put the sign up, and the other one is an affidavit of mailing saying that you mailed a notice to the people on the list.
And he didn't know that?
The building department should have told them, they typically do.
Wait a minute. I think there's something else. No, just a picture.
It's a
Okay.
form that looks somewhat like, when you find the one you've already completed. It's a form that looks something like this.
Oh, okay.
Two different forms that look
Okay,
like
so an
this.
affidavit that it has
Mailing and
been
posting,
mailing and
yeah.
posting. Okay, so, and then what happens now?
Then you have to come back and
The next
we'll
agenda.
talk about it. So are you asking us to adjourn to our next meeting?
You don't have any jurisdiction to adjourn.
Oh, we don't have one, so we have no jurisdiction. So if you get that form in the file, then we'll be able to do it. It can be discussed.
Submit them to the building department as soon as you can
Oh, all right,
tomorrow.
Sure, okay. All right, thank you
You'll have
very
to come
much.
back, though.
All right, thank you.
Next is Driveway Gates Historic, 101 First Neck Lane. Did that just show up? What's the thing on that?
That's a story. There's the affidavit of mailing.
Is that today? No, that, no. Yeah, so anything that's in there is stamped what? What's the date on it? Oh, okay.
Disclosure was
101 First Neck Lane.
have affidavits.
Was that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. For the applicant, John Bennett, the applicant is proposing to relocate and replace their existing gates on this property. There's currently a gate located about halfway up the driveway. They're proposing 8-foot-high wooden post with light fixtures located at the top of the posts. Light fixtures on the post are common in the area, in which we will talk to you a little bit about. The posts are 1 foot 4 inches wide. The gate itself complies with the 50% transparency requirement. Here is a color sample of the gate. The entire house is in this color, so it's a matte gray color, and it's shown as such on the proposed gate shown on the Rexrod Chirgos Architects, which is photograph, which is part of your application, which was filed back on June 11th. So the gate itself complies with the 50% transparency requirement. The closed slats on the lower 2 feet 5.5 with 1.5 foot slats with 4.5 inch spacing above. So we're well in conformance with the 50% transparency requirement. It's proposed to be gray in color, so we indicated them on the plans, and I have a sample with me as I stated. Now, so what we did, or actually what the architect did, I thought very handily for you, and it's part of the application. There's a series of number-coded photographs, which if I can take you through that. Photograph 1 is the existing gate, which is to be removed. That's quite a bit down the flag lot portion of the property. So we're going to move it towards the front.
John, sorry, could you rotate that?
Sure.
So Charlie can pick it up? Thank you very much.
Out in front of the, so that's where the gates are now, and the object is to move them down, albeit in a conforming location, down the flagpole, much similar to the houses in the area. Here you see the gates to the, I guess that's to the south, 119. And also there are some driveway gates to the north which have light fixtures on them as well.
Do you have the actual plans for the gates?
Yeah, they're in there.
there only three?
Sure you do.
They're part of the package.
On the package, yeah.
Here. This little one.
Okay, we'll share this. We'll share it.
It's the third.
Oh, well, there's only three pieces, three packets, so.
It's there.
I got it, thank you. So they're 8 feet tall?
Yep.
Guess that's the new normal, huh?
Well, it conforms.
Well, we're having this,
And then what we did was we showed you, and I'll leave it to you for your consideration. What we showed you is they're numerically coded based upon the location, but they're all in the very, very immediate area. Is you have gates at 78 First Neck, which are a similar color.
Jeff has that.
Then you have gates at 148 First Neck, which are black and metal. Gates at 155 First Neck. And gates at 170.
are the posts going to be
First
gray
neck.
too?
Yes, the whole thing is gray. And then the gates at 178, which also have significant light fixtures on them. So there you go. So not only are they, actually relative to quite a few of the gates in the area, relative to some of the gates in the area, they're much more subdued, I would say.
And John, just confirming, the scaling here is accurate, so all the gates are essentially the same height?
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. This doesn't work on the audio. That's my 2 thumbs up.
Right, okay.
Yes, sorry. So what we've tried to do is keep them a little bit more traditional than some of the gates in the area. The lighting fixtures on the top they're set back, so they won't be as prominent as some of the lighting fixtures on some of the gates, which are more prominent. We've met the transparency requirement.
What's the wattage? I got the diameter, the height, proposed color, no wattage.
It can be whatever you want us to be. We didn't specify it. They're really not there for the purposes of anything other than 25 decoration.
25 is the 25 watts.
25? Is that what the typical? That's fine. You can make that a condition. That's fine.
Also,
Frosted glass or not? Again, your call. If you prefer the frosted 25,
yeah,
that's fine.
it just doesn't...
No, it's fine. That's fine.
Proposed
Again, they're not
light
there
fixture.
as much for elimination.
So how do we notate that?
You can make it a condition of decision.
Oh, okay. Got it. Does anyone have any comments? Are you finished, Mr. Bennett?
Unless you have questions.
Well, let's see if the board does. Anyone?
No, John, answer my question.
I appreciate that it is effectively set back further from the road than the ones immediately to the north, actually than all of them.
All of them, actually.
But also that it stays in line with the other gates, and I think the gray will make it more subdued. So I don't have any concerns.
I don't either. If we have the condition that...
Public comment?
Is there any public comment on the gates at 101 First Nick Lane? It's not.
So don't forget to make those conditions. I want to
Don't worry.
25.
It's actually, has to be, we need written decision. So
Put it in there. Close for
written decision.
I make a motion to close the application for 101 First Neck Lane driveway gates for written decision.
We put the conditions, or you just use it in yours?
I'll put the
Okay, thank you. All right.
Thanks.
Close.
Anyone want a second?
Second.
Jeff? Aye. Susan? Aye. Christina? Rob?
Aye.
Moving right along.
The next application is adjourned pending a decision back from the Board of Appeals. Is there any update on that vote to your knowledge?
No update.
Our next application is Lisa Bass, 20 Colletreau Street. This is construction of a third-floor dormer and addition and front entry addition to dwelling.
Any new plans were put in the file?
Yes. And we have a smaller set for you there.
The building department, I asked repeatedly and told me there weren't any.
Let me find the most current one.
Okay, great.
And then you have a set right here. Would you all like one?
Yes, please.
That might be easier.
Have to stamp it.
Yes.
Oh, she has to stamp them.
Just to stamp.
Oh, every single, yes, thank you.
Sure. Do you want the photos as well?
Anything you want to give me? I'll stamp them. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did we already have the affidavit?
I think
We submitted new ones, yeah, because we had advertised the additional parts, and now,
Oh, okay.
now we have a complete request for everything that we're looking to do.
Great,
Okay?
wonderful.
So again, Robert Fischetti, Ferdinand Fischetti, 320 Hampton Road, for the applicant. So as I said, we were here before you just about a month ago regarding the third-story dormer, 2.5-story dormer. And now we have added to the application a front entry addition and the removal of those windows that we discussed on the side due to termite damage. I have passed out, along with those photos, a copy of the termite report that shows the extensive damage sustained to these two windows here. So you have that in your packet. As far as the dormer goes, we had discussed this in the past, and at the suggestion of the board, we have taken the sides in to 2 feet. So there's a 2 foot difference here to really differentiate the dormer from the rest of the roof. This height of the dormer was brought down about 6 inches. The windows were reduced from 6 windows to 4 windows. There's now about a 1'9" spacing between the windows. And yes, this dormer makes use of that half story that's up there, but I think it's important to keep in mind that this is a 27-foot high house. This is not a house that was built, 10 years ago that's pushing the maximum 32 feet. So yes, they're taking advantage of this higher space to the extent the building code allows, but it is only a 27-foot total ridge. As opposed to the houses on the other side, which are new full-size houses. The front addition. Now currently, the house, and you can see on the plans, on the floor plan on 2A and 2B, and then the elevations on 5A and 5B, if you want to flip back and forth to see the front addition, it sort of makes it clear when you look at it that way. So right now, there's a covered porch with steps. And what the applicant would like to do is fill in the sides. It only comes out about 5 feet 9 inches off of the front face of the house. We're not changing the front setback at all, but for a step or two. Otherwise, it's the same front yard setback. We're just filling in just sort of a modest addition just to have a powder room and a mud room. And that there's a 5'4" off of the the current face of the house. And that meets the setback requirements. There's no zoning board approval required for that.
So,
as I said, the two windows are here on the east side of the house. And as I said, this was due to termite damage. Part of the reason for the termite damage is this roof here is currently pitched, as you can see on the front elevation of the plans. It has a pitch here where part of the pitch goes toward the house. So part of our plans and part of our application is to change the pitch so that it's away from the house. And then we hope that will take care of any future issues as far as the rainwater. The colors of the house will be harbor gray, which is this color gray here, and then the shutters will be driftwood gray, which is this darker one here, and then the trim will be white.
The roof over the front, you're planning on doing a seam metal, or is that shingle?
They would prefer the metal. I know it's not, not a favorite here. It is a small section. It is something that they'd like to try to have extend the life of it to do the metal. And that's what I have, so I can take any questions you have.
I have a couple questions. On the model that you have there, the dormer is, the south facade of the dormer is set back in a couple feet from the rest of the house, I believe. Looks to be.
Are you talking about this?
Yeah, that wall, those 4 windows are set back from the facade that's underneath it on the second story. Am I seeing that correctly on the model?
Yes. Yes, correct.
That's not what's showing on the plans. So can you clarify for us whether if it's set back, and if so, by how much? Because on the elevation, let me just...
Yeah, 7B, the east elevation.
Yeah, the plans are what is proposed. This is not a professional model. It was done by my client as a way to try to help the board visualize, but the plans are the...
This is a really important point, because this side view is one of the things that I think caught the eye of a few people on this board. So it caught my eye, so I won't speak for other people. But this here, I think when you were here the last time, we talked about setting back both a little bit on the sides as well as maybe on the back. But this looks as though the
Straight out.
the extent of this dormer addition comes out to the same level as the main form of the house.
I mean, there's really not a lot of floor space to work with up there. That's sort of a necessity to the actual purpose of the project.
Okay.
It's, I mean, to see that from the street, given the houses on the side, I mean, it's...
I've walked down the street. You actually see the roof line very clearly.
Because
with all due respect,
it has such a
it's very
shallow
clear.
yard that actually the back appear, you can see it from the side. There's a
No,
lot
I
of
understand.
side.
I understand. It's not at that
Yeah.
side, total side angle like you have. It's more of a 45-degree angle, so I don't think it stands out quite as much as it does on the side elevation like that.
Okay.
But I understand your point. I think that was really something that, just because of the floor space, I don't think it was possible.
Trying to maximize floor space.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maximize would really just be able to make it functional.
Yep. Okay. Also, these windows that had the termite damage.
Yes.
Was there any thought given to replacing those windows versus eliminating them and siding over them? It just leaves a lot of bare area on the side of a relatively small house.
The applicants had privacy concerns. There are bathrooms in both of those spots. The neighbors are very close. They felt that it was just more appropriate to have them shingled over.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions.
I feel like you took like a really simple little cottage and made it much more complicated and busy. And I understand what you want more space. But
Well, this is, just to give a little perspective, this is a family that, a local family during the
you know
purchase.
what? This is not our purview. We just really need to talk about the architecture.
Well, you're talking about the use of the space, so I'm trying to explain to
No,
you.
we're not talking about the use of the space. We're talking about the outside of the house. Really. We're not even, we don't concern ourselves with the inside of the house. So that is our purview. That is what we are entitled to be interested in. So I'm interested in that. And I have misgivings about the dormer.
So I like the model. You get an A for the model, but unfortunately the model doesn't reflect the plan. The plan does have the dormer coming out to the edge of the roof. In fact, it actually shows it coming out a little bit further. I understand that the desire to have it that way for the purposes, which are not part of our purview, as Susan says, but at the same end, we are looking at the architecture. So if you could come back with a plan that looks like the model, you got my vote. The other thing I would say is the metal roof, while I think it would accentuate the front addition, and it would move the house, which is, as Susan says, very cute right now, to something other than what it is, and it would accentuate that addition. So I would ask that the applicant, that you consider a wood shingle or the shingles to match.
I think they're open to that. That's not a major concern. I don't know as far as the back. I mean,
I'm open to it. I mean, whatever you guys want, we'll do.
Can you afford to pull in floor space? I mean, to pull, you know what they're talking about. Pulling this.
Should you step up to the mic?
Right. I mean, essentially,
You have to go up to the mic and introduce yourself, please.
my name is Lisa Bass. I own 20 Pelletreau. We have one son who is 6'4", and so we need that space for his bedroom. So unfortunately, I guess the inside will dictate how it looks on the outside. We're trying to maximize that space on the 3rd floor. If there's a discrepancy between what's on the plans and what I've done on the model, I will come back and present it again.
But can
We need the drawings to represent.
with this wall point,
I mean,
do you want them
I
to
would,
vote on the plans that they have there?
Is this metal too?
well, it sounds like they don't. Sure, or we can adjourn it.
You can adjourn them if
Yes.
you want, if you're willing to.
That's fine. Sure.
A lot of it.
I also just have a question, if I could. So this is the floor plan that you submitted, I guess, for the 3rd floor, the attic space?
Yes, yes.
Could this, I think, the windows, where you need to point to the right place. These are not the windows. This doesn't represent the windows that you're now proposing, the four along the back.
Right.
So we would need to have that, I think, corrected.
Okay.
The issue on the dormer is you have a very traditional form of a house. One of the things we'd like to do as a board is to try to preserve traditional forms. It's part of what makes the fabric of the village.
Right.
To have a dormer that, as we said before, that came out on both sides and all the way to the back, that starts to look not like a dormer. It starts to look like a bit of, and I know a lot of thought has been put into this, but it starts to look like a homemade sort of addition. And less traditional for a dormer. Dormers have been put into buildings like this, but
Right.
by setting that back in on all sides, you get something that looks like it exists elsewhere in the village. Without that, you get something that's a bit of a hybrid, in my opinion, and I think I'm sharing some comments that I've...
Well, I think it looks also so top heavy.
Makes the building look a little top-heavy.
So there's another house over on Layton that also shows a dormer in the front of the house, which I indicated on one of the photographs, probably on the last page of not the termite section, but of the regular photos. So I'm just curious to know, in light of what is presented there and in what you're trying to achieve for us in the back of the house, is this something that you want to see?
So you're talking
Yes.
about this
I am.
picture here? Okay. Charlie, if you can get this.
Do you have
Yeah, I mean, I think what you see is a setback on the sides of this dormer.
Right, which we achieved here.
Right, and a setback on the front as well, because you've got a shed
Right.
roof in front of,
Right.
try to do this right in there.
Okay. So you need to see that reflected on the plans.
Rob, could I just see what you're talking about?
Yes,
Right,
sorry.
this one here.
Yeah, I'm not in love with that either, unfortunately.
No, but
It does set back.
Rob is making the point, it's set
Yeah.
back on the sides and in the front, much like the model.
Right.
And I think to Jeff's point, I understand why you want the overhang over the windows. It's good for a lot of things, including water management, which it sounds like there have been issues on this house.
Massive issues.
When the wall comes all the way out to the 2nd floor wall, that overhang then comes out. That's the farthest thing out. That's part of what makes it look top-heavy, I think, Jeff. That's a good word for it. I want to say I appreciate all the work you put into this and also the work you put into changing the windows based on the comments last time. So I, for one, feel pretty good about this application, but I just have a concern about that dormer.
Okay.
And to me, it's a matter of enough setback so that visually it looks set back. I'd like you to take up as little floor space as you have to take up to make it look as though it's set back.
Right.
But I don't know if other people on the board feel that way.
I agree with him. I agree with him.
And as long as and on the west facade, we have more metal roof? We got metal roofing,
The west facade
has a little metal roof.
that's all existing, right? This is
Yeah, that's all existing.
Existing?
Yes.
Is there other existing metal roof on this house?
No, it's an existing shingle right now.
This is shingle, right?
Shingles, yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so there is no metal on this house now, is that
No.
And we're
correct?
happy not to propose it. Yeah,
That's good,
okay.
because that would make me feel a lot better. 'cause
We'll do
it's
all
a-
shingles.
You know, a little house, you've added a lot of windows and stuff, and it's, to me, top-heavy, but I might be, if you bring it in a little,
We can pull in the third story.
I think it would be
dormer.
better, but I think the less busy that we get going forward would be good. Because it really is, I know it has termites, it's extremely charming as it stands. And I would hope that you would be able to preserve some of that.
Yes.
All right, so we're coming back.
And so just to be clear, so if we come back with just the changes to
Well,
the
we
third
need the
story
plans to
dormer. No,
reflect.
we'll come back with
Yes.
that, but as far as our changes we're making, we're going to make the changes to the third story dormer, and then everything else,
And the metal's going to go away.
and the metal's going to go. But otherwise,
Does anyone else have any other qualms?
For the push out in the front, we're okay?
everything on the front, okay?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you very much.
So you're asking us to adjourn?
Yes,
till-
please, to adjourn. Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
public comment, is there any public comment? Sorry. Okay, you're asking us to adjourn this
Yes,
to our
please.
next meeting. Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn the application of Lisa Bass on Pelletreau Street to our next meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Rob?
Yes, I
You
second.
vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Susan, aye. Jeff?
That meeting is 2 weeks from today.
It's the 20,
23rd?
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
These and give some back to us. Do you want
Do you
some?
want some of these copies back? Is it helpful for you? We only need a couple,
Yes,
so.
that would be great.
Do I have the two stamped?
This is not a stamped copy.
So,
This is
okay.
not a stamped copy, so.
Is this stamped?
Down there.
Let's say one of
We keep two in the file. but we
Right,
don't-
I just want to make sure that they're two the same.
Everything is blue.
Yes. That's 4.5.
Okay, here we go. Looks good. Whoop. No, is there one?
Yeah, we came out.
This we don't need, right? No, that's an extra. We might need it for them, okay. Next application is Long Island Residential, Inc., 85 Pelham.
The board received a communication through council at 4:30 to request an adjournment of this application because one of the proposed witnesses was unable to attend at the last minute.
A witness, or just a,
Witness.
it's called a witness? Okay, so, a motion to accept...
applicant's
approve the
request for
application-
adjournment.
Applicant's request for an
I
adjournment.
make a motion to approve the applicant's request for adjournment for 85 Pelletreau Street, Long Island Residential.
To our next meeting, was that...
Correct.
I second. Okay. Rob, how do you vote?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan, aye.
Aye.
Jeff, aye. Next, Dinah Maxwell Smith.
Dinah Maxwell Smith at 59 Meeting House Lane.
All goes in Pelletreau.
Okay.
I had some issues on this one, too.
There is the disclosure affidavit, and these are the mailing and posting. Okay. I have a complete application.
Hi, Jeffrey Gibbons, architect for the applicant. This is a small, less than 200 square foot addition to the front of a house on Meeting House Lane.
What is it, posting and mail?
That's open today.
Sorry. Just want to make sure that we have the affidavit,
Yes.
posting and mailing on the record. Okay, sorry to
Jeff,
interrupt.
just a quick question for perspective. Was this a house that
There was
was
a-
going to be torn down, or am I thinking different?
No.
No, I'm more...
Was this the house where there was a
across the
little
street.
studio where you took out the
Yes,
pool?
yes.
Okay. Okay.
Same house.
Thanks.
And has that been built? Okay, or whatever you do.
It's got a CL and everything.
Okay.
This is right now there exists a, actually, pretty easy for me. a big set.
Not bad. Okay.
So this is all in here.
There's no drawing with it, what it exists. But this part right now is a recessed porch,
Right.
which is not common in Southampton. And there's a red board and batten siding in that recessed porch, which is also not kind of, it's more like a barn than a house. So the applicant has already received a variance from the ZBA to be able to add 7 feet to the front of the house, plus the 6 foot of the porch, and create a room that's 13 by 19, and also give her a closet at the front door. The other thing we were going to do is take the board and batten siding off of this part of the house here, or here, which is not painted, but it's still board and batten, different material from above, and use regular shingles.
That would be nice.
To that.
I remember when they built this house.
So, you know,
The idea was...
could I just, in the aerial, first of all, this is the worst place to go look at a house because you can't stop without getting rear-ended by a car.
That's right.
Right, but I drove past a few times, but it was pretty tough. So, but you're going to come out, so you're not...
We're not going to be further than them. We're actually going to be behind them, next door.
How about over here? But here, they're back.
He doesn't have a porch.
Okay, but we're talking about
All right.
whether or not
To
the
get the
addition...
ZBA variance, I don't have the documentation
Well, I
with me
think we-
tonight.
yeah.
There was tons of documentation to show that it's in an MF20 district. None of the properties in the that particular
Fit.
MF20
Right.
fit the zoning, and that 25 feet was a front yard that was common.
Okay, I'm
throughout-
just
throughout
asking.
the area.
It's going to look so much.
Because yes, we had to get a variance.
Yeah, you're
We had to
coming
get a
out.
variance. And, but what I did is I got a bunch of surveys from the building department for the whole area, for Oak Street, and it goes up to Cameron, Walnut Street. None of those properties had met the 50-foot setback, and this house is already 32 feet back. We're only coming out to 25.
So in the survey, it says frame garage. Is that the little studio?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
Well, she took out the pool.
Right, I remember that. Okay.
Okay. So this is a 3D rendering of it.
Okay, and you have,
Closer?
put that down on so Charlie can
Just lay
shoot
it down
it,
and we'll
please,
see it
sir.
on the screen.
Okay.
That's good. Leave it right there. Let him focus in. Thank you.
So much.
Is that metal up there?
There is existing metal seam.
Oh, there is existing.
We are not putting metal seam on this addition. We're
Thank
using
you.
regular asphalt shingles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Board?
I think it improves the house a lot.
I actually have to agree after all that. You were convincing.
Yes,
Jeff?
I agree. It adds definition to the front. Nice design job.
Thank you.
Much better.
Is there any comment from the public? Please step forward, state your name and your address. Hi.
Candace Harding Post, 420 Hill Street. Knowing Ms. Smith's excellent character and taste, I think these changes would be most attractive, and
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
think so as well.
All right.
I did have one question, actually. I have one question for you. The frieze board that's currently under the pediment up here, how tall is this frieze board? And how tall will the trim or frieze board be between the first and second floors?
It's not going to be, the roof will come up to the underside of the middle window.
Charlie, can we just pick up the rendering again on the table? Do you mind?
because the middle window is longer, as you can see, than the sides.
Yeah.
So,
Can we just pick up the rendering, the color 3D rendering on the table? From the overhead camera? Yeah.
There you go.
Zoom in a little bit.
Yeah. My only concern is that I'm wondering what the height is of the frieze board going over the shingled section that's not coming out here. Right now, this looks, to my eye, I'm walking past it at about 3.5 to 4 inches, and this looks 6. There's something that is a bit unbalanced about it. I'm just wondering what that sort of frieze underneath the new addition as well as between the first and second floors.
Would look better with...
Can it match this?
Yeah. Sure.
I think it would, right now, something looks a little forlorn about it.
That doesn't, you see, that little piece of trim is the kick out on the second floor. It's bigger here because there's,
Gutters?
no, there's actual like wood beams that are there that are creating this, that doesn't go follow around the entire house.
Okay. Okay. So will the new work, will there be a trim or frieze board there or not? It's just going to be that same...
Well, you don't see it up here, and you don't see it here.
Yeah. Okay.
While I do agree that I like a frieze board, I mean, we can do it if you'd like.
If no one else feels strongly about it, the concern is just, my concern is just this relatively thin line here, which turns out is maybe part of the structure and not an actual frieze board, versus what's underneath the metal roof.
But once he comes out...
But he won't be coming out over here.
Right.
On the east side.
But he's changing it to shingles, so he has to do something.
Yeah, that's going to change to shingles.
So then he's going to have to make a choice there.
Well, I wouldn't want it to be thicker than the top of the windows, because then it would look like it's cut into the windows.
I understand.
This part above kicks out, so I can't put it there.
That's a problem. Okay.
I kind of feel like it shouldn't be. Maybe it shouldn't be so, there's a certain whimsy involved in historic touch.
Okay.
Not that what they have there now.
Okay.
All right. Are there anyone else from the public? Motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the application of Dinah Maxwell Smith on Meeting House Lane.
Do I have a second?
I second. Go ahead, Jeff.
Second?
Okay. How do you vote, Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you very much. Yes, we'll take it. Do you mind? Do you want this?
Now, these plans are not, do I stamp with this?
That's the survey.
The survey
Where's the
shows.
plans? But they are stamped, good.
Okay. There's 2 plans.
Good. Is there another one? Do I date it?
Is this the same?
Thank you to the board.
Where's the second set of plans? Oh, good.
Thank you.
It's actually organized. You have to sign the folder. Let's go back in. This is signed. And I just need to sign the folder.
Did you sign the back twice?
No. Thank you. So goofy.
Is this for the next?
Thank you. Sign the folder. Yeah. Sign the folder if that one's all done.
Oh, they have to go through.
She has to stamp them.
There's the disclosure affidavit.
This goes back. Oh, that goes back in there? This goes in. Next application is Emily McCarthy, 63 Hunting Street. Construct 2-story single-family dwelling with detached garage and pergola.
And also demolition of existing.
Right. There's a demo permit, a demo evaluation in this folder.
Yes, and there's one in this packet they're handing out.
Okay, well, I have misgivings because it doesn't actually have a date on it. It says unknown, which I find unacceptable because there are some dates that could be had.
Your historian went out and
I'm sorry, I understand that, but he needs to further validate the date, because there are, I asked one simple question and got a response of, we're not going to do this, of a date when the building, when the house that's there now was sold, not when it was built. And I think he can do better work than that, because it could be, if it's built in 1926, this then goes into the category of historic.
Okay, first of all, my name's Dave Harvey, D&D Dave Harvey, D&D Harvey Architects, for the applicant. We did file for a demolition permit.
Absolutely.
The historian has been to the site and has his ruling listed clearly that it is not a historic property. Although cute and...
Minus a date. There's a space on this form that says the date, and it says unknown, although there is
to be filled out by your historian.
Sir, he is our consultant, and I've asked him to take another look.
Okay. So you're not going to review the...
That's correct. We just... Do you want to do it? I don't think... I'm willing to do it, but we really do need the information from the historic consultant. It's unfortunate, I agree, but we don't want to make a mistake. And there are ways to make some kind of a date range on this on the demolition evaluation.
We've also spoken to John Foster, and he's very familiar with the project, and he also said that this house has no historic date. He knew the previous owner very well.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, in the village, there have been some demolitions on houses that fell through the cracks.
And we don't want to continue.
Bear with us on this to get that level of authentication. We owe it to the village, so if you could bear with us.
Would we be able to just present what we're...
Well, I have to ask the board, how do you feel about that? Would that color, would color what we're looking at?
That seems to me like a technical issue, and if it comes back and the house was built in 1926 or earlier, then that I would hold firm to that. I don't feel I would be swayed by anything I heard. So.
All right.
So we'll just be looking at these.
You can present your application, but we're not going to make any kind of decision.
An opinion, but not a decision.
Yes.
So,
yeah, we'd just like to have your comment.
This would be useful as a work session.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so 63 Hunting is currently 2 residents on a single lot. They're small, kind of Mediterranean-style homes, small cottages. The one house on the corner is it's in disrepair from water damage. It's essentially a flat roof that's kind of masked by some small terracotta tiles around the perimeter. And then the second dwelling is down Pierpont and is currently an existing non-conforming location. So
is that all the same address?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, there's a Pierpont, I believe, one is 63 Hunting, for which there's no driveway, and then there's Pierpont, for which there is a driveway cut. So I think it's a corner lot that has...
Well, there's currently 2 driveways.
And it's...
It has 2 driveways?
It has 2 driveways, yes.
Yeah, one for each bungalow.
Should it be... So now we're talking about 63 Hunting Street and what number Pierpont? 25? I didn't look at Pierpont Street because I thought the application was 63 Hunting Street.
It's all one property. It's just...
But wait.
It's our understanding.
Is it or isn't it?
We'll leave the owners here. It's combined property, correct?
It's a combined...
And it's basically 2 residences on a single
I know.
property.
Bo?
That's legitimate.
Okay.
I mean, if there's a mailing address different than Hunting Street, that's the option of the owner.
Okay. Continue.
All right, so what we're proposing is to eliminate the dual residences, construct 1 residence in the Hunting location on the corner. It basically sits within or very close to the existing footprint. but it's a new structure proposed, two-story structure. Then we are proposing to do a single-car garage in the place of the guest cottage that's on the property now. There's also a pool proposed. So the square footages are within your gross floor area calculations. We're actually under by 157 square feet. It's a very low-scale, small building. It's traditional with some simplified colonial detailing. It's going to be kind of a bleaching oil on cedar with white trim. We are proposing a standing seam metal roof. The client is very much likes the look of some of the older colonial small buildings that you can see, especially in Sag Harbor. There are a few in Southampton, not right on Pierpont or Hunting, but there are some smaller scale kind of colonial buildings with these very simple details.
With seamed metal roofs?
Well, there's a standing seam metal roof on a pretty good-sized house on Wyandanch, just around the corner. And there are some smaller houses with metal seam roofs on porches.
Yes, I understand that, but okay. How tall is this? I'm having trouble here getting the height.
28 feet, 8 inches.
28
Where
to
do
the
you see
ridge.
that?
Should be on the elevation.
Oh, okay. There's
So,
many.
8.5 has it,
28 feet, okay.
and 8.4 as well.
So, so the two street elevations would be the Hunting Street elevation, which is
direction, that's east, right?
Let's see. Hunting, it would be south, and Pierpont is east. So
Hunting
is south.
Hunting is south.
So the two lots run basically north-south when they're combined, and so basically, essentially, what we're doing is breaking the mass of the building into kind of 3 smaller buildings and connecting it with a flat roof section to limit the massing in the center of the building. As you drive down Pierpont now, the existing buildings are barely over the hedge. This is a 2-story building, but it's minimal. As you can see, the ridge is only 28 feet, 9 inches.
And can you describe the connector, please?
Okay, so the connector is an aluminum and glass connector with a flat roof. So we're kind of doing a juxtaposition between more traditional buildings with a contrasting connecting element. Let's see what else. So then, and the garage is very small. It's a 1-car garage. And it's only about 15 feet high, not even. It's 15 feet, 6 inches high. We've pulled it back to meet the accessory structure requirements on that side. Everything's well within the pyramid restrictions. We are allowed to do 520 square feet additional garage, but we only are proposing 300.
Jeff?
If I may make some comments. So you described it as a traditional design. I would call it a more transitional design. It has elements of postmodern, contemporary design, and I would view it, especially juxtaposed against the other houses in that neighborhood, as being more contemporary than traditional. So I view it as a traditional design, and as such find it a bit at odds with the other houses on Hunting Street and on Pierpont. Additionally, it does, while the address is Hunting Street, it does face Pierpont. So I think the board should be aware that the house is really fronts on Pierpont, even though
Correct,
the applicant has arbitrarily chosen the address of Hunting Street. The materials in 2 aspects are concerned, especially when combined with the more modern aspect, more contemporary aspect. And that is the use of the metal roof. You heard from the others that is a concern. It's a double concern when you put a metal roof on a contemporary house in a traditional area. in my mind, it's going to stick out, not like a sore thumb. It's going to be very different. And if that's your object and your goal, then you've accomplished it, but that's not what we generally do vote on. And let me just finish, Dave, if I may. The glass wall, which does face onto Hunting Street, for me is a non-starter, and that really defines a very contemporary house. In addition, it is just having a floor, ground to rooftop glass arcade is at odds with anything that's in that neighborhood, and therefore would be disharmonious. I appreciate the design aspect, but in the context of that neighborhood, I would not be in favor of voting for that. So you combine the overall design, which to me is transitional and more contemporary in a very traditional neighborhood, of at least from Pierpont to Little Plains, is generally more modest houses, although over the last few years there have been some larger houses on some smaller properties. Granted, when you get to the east side of Hunting, there's some very large houses, but none of them are traditional. I mean, none of them are contemporary in any shape or form. And it's not that we are necessarily dead set against evolution or contemporary houses. It's just how they fit into the neighborhood. And this design overall, and then when combined with the specifics of the materials and the ground to ceiling arcade, just in my mind, and perhaps the other board members have different feelings, are incompatible. The other thing that I noticed on the plans is there is a rather significant second floor deck, which is, if you've been before this board before, and I'm not sure if you have,
not in several years.
Okay, is a concern of ours. Now, right now, the property next to the house is vacant, but that's going to be built at some point in time. So we have to, even though there's nobody to oppose it, that's next door. I would at the very least like to see some sort of perspective as to the visibility to the neighbor's property.
The one perspective does show that there's already a 15-foot high hedge, which goes the entire length of the property.
Yeah.
So that second floor roof balcony is at about 10 feet above grade.
Yeah.
So it's not like it would be looming over the property line.
Yeah, that may very well be. So sort of in the same, should you come back with the same design after any comments from the other board members, I would at the very least look for a streetscape, both north and south, a few houses on either side. So that would mean Pierpont down to
we
the
have
two
included
houses.
some photos of what is next door in the second half of the package. And I wanted to just speak a little bit to.
Well, let me just finish my thought.
Historic.
Let me just finish my thought, Dave. And then on Hunting Street, and to the extent it's possible, and it looks like you have a pretty good CAD system, the streetscape ideally would actually show the house, not just picture by picture, but the house in perspective and in the context of the neighboring houses. Because again, given my concern for the disharmonious nature of this house, and I know you want to make the point that, I think you're going to make the point that there's room in traditional neighborhoods for contemporary houses. Although I'm not from Missouri, but in Southampton, you're going to have to prove it to me, because right now I'm not buying it.
Well, one of the things that is nationally accepted in even historic districts is to contrast the historic nature of the building. So I do agree with you, this is somewhat of a transitional piece, and the traditional elements are true to form. They are, very small, low scale, kind of colonial buildings with simple trim. And yes, there's a glass connector, but it's also minimal. It's only about 8 feet wide. At its highest point, it's the 17 feet high. Yeah. So, I do understand your point, but it's not as if we're proposing a large glass box.
I appreciate that. We can hear what the other board members go, but you'd be hard pressed to get my vote, but I'm one of 5, so there. there are other folks.
Rob?
I share some of Jeff's concerns, and I don't share some of his concerns. I would agree this is transitional. I would describe this as postmodern. You're using colonial forms and then using some more modern materials and more open windows. I don't mind that style choice overall. The two things that stand out to me in a negative way are the glass connector. I agree with Jeff on that. The size of the windows in there and the irregular mullion work, large mullions on it to sort of make it asymmetrical, have a very modern look. There are a couple of houses in the village that have glass connectors on otherwise traditional forms, and in my opinion, they're not successful. So I hear that from other people. So I have a concern about that. And the other concern I have, I'm actually not concerned about the metal roof on this property, which is going to surprise some people, except to the extent that you have the pyramid roof. I'm not sure that I've ever seen a standing seam metal roof here that is pyramidal form. It's an awkward thing to have those seams come up. I'm sure they do a good job, but it accentuates the texture of that roof in a way that
is unnecessary.
Well, we're addressing the corner, and if you do address, if you look at this from a planning point of view, it is somewhat of an architectural deliberate move to address the corner. So we did it with a symmetrical tower.
Right.
Hence the hip
But
roof.
you wouldn't, and did you think about making a pediment end on one of these, though? And
well, we chose, for instance, the scale of that building and then the one right next to it are very similar, and we liked the juxtaposition of one having the gable end facing the street, but to, tag the corner with a tower. Because then as you go down Pierpont, it's another bar building.
Well, I appreciate that explanation, and I like the setting off of the two forms. One is more of a tower and the other is more of a pediment. But the standing seam metal roof coming up into a point is perhaps would be a unique feature in Southampton Village. And it, as I said, I don't mind the standing seam metal roof on the traditional gabled roofs here. Where it comes, where it's used on that tower, it's a fairly large roof. To me, it is jarring. So those are my concerns.
Christina?
I share the concerns of Rob and Jeff. I mean, I find the design pleasing and unusual. I just feel that it's out of place in that location, and I'd like to see how it would fit in with the rest of the houses on the street. I do have a problem with the glass connector. I'm just working on this. I mean, I share my...
How's the chimney going for the rest of the board?
Well, on this, the chimney
Is this white brick?
Well, that is actually, unfortunately, my render did not change that. We are moving towards just a kind of a washed, true brick-colored brick. So in other words, a distressed old brick, rather than this is too white. We're not going to go.
Okay, so you're saying it would be like a whitewash?
No,
like
for
those
instance,
Dutch?
actually, I have in that second section of the
I
package.
think when you do come back,
I mean, on
depending
this,
on
in this rendering, it looks
Yes, I know.
inordinately tall.
Yes, also.
because materials are a concern of apparently
In the plans,
everybody in
you
one
realize
shape or
it's
another.
not that tall.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you, Christine. But if you could bring back materials, samples
Yes, there
of
is a sample
materials.
of the brick in the package, just for color.
Okay. I have tremendous concerns about all this metal roofing. I really think, I find the glass connector to be, what I would say, I don't actually mind the forms that you have, the two sides, but the connector seems to diminish anything of the integrity, to me, of those forms, even though it's like a step back. But the metal roofs are so strident, including on the garage, and the one that's the tower highlights, as Rob said, this material, which is foreign to the neighborhoods, and as far as I'm concerned, not preferable in Southampton. I mean, you're telling us there are some houses with metal roofs. I don't think they're very successful, personally.
Well, I mean, metal roofs have been historically used throughout the East
Yes,
Coast.
but they're not
correct?
historically used in Southampton. I have looked and looked.
Oh, there are a few. We have some photos of some.
Yeah, there are some.
We know there's some, but there, and you mentioned one that might be on Wyandotte, but on that street and Pierpont, crisscrossing Pierpont and Hunting, there are none. So, and that's when we look at the neighborhoods. I mean, that's the immediate neighborhood.
It's the neighborhood
immediate concern.
Yeah.
I did have one more just clarification question, if I could, on this west elevation. Can you describe, this is a picture window?
It's
here?
glass, yes.
And then a door or?
Large sliding, lift and slide glass.
Okay.
So it's basically, it's supposed to be like a glass enclosed porch. It is their main living space, but it's been designed as what would have been traditionally the porch on somewhat of a farmhouse.
Can you?
Glass.
Oh, you have it. So it's there.
So it's part of that glass element.
Part of there. It's there. Okay.
Understand.
Yes, I mean, your points are all well taken, and it's been deliberately designed that way. So there's a kind of a contrasting glass connector, and then it wraps around the back as a kind of a curtain wall. I do want to just point out there is no neighbor, and
Well,
Not now.
no. This is Southampton. There is no neighbor now, but don't tell me there won't be.
right, but that neighbor would then have a choice in purchasing that property if something's already established and built. They're fully aware
Right,
of it.
but
So it's
we're
not like
actually
we're
concerned
imposing
with
on them.
not just that neighbor, but the other neighbors too. The Pierpont Street and Hunting Street in particular.
Okay.
Okay? I mean, we're not... Is there any public comment? State your name and your address, please, sir.
Yes, good evening. Christopher John, 23 Pierpont Street. I just had a question. Will the home have a driveway on Hunting and Pierpont, or is it only Pierpont?
No, so currently there's 2 entrances off of Pierpont, and we are actually planning on just keeping those, but then creating a connector in kind of a green drive so that people don't always have to park nose in. We'd actually like to get them off the road, behind the hedge.
Okay.
Then what's currently the guest cottage, that driveway would remain, and also have a turnout to the north so that they can also park and not be just nose in.
Is that going to be blocks paved, or is it going to be grass?
It'll all be grass. So I mean, they have some high impact,
whatever that stuff is.
egg crates that you don't see it.
The pavers,
Well, the first generation were the concrete pavers.
Yes,
the
and now
majority
it's
that's
sort
too
of
much concrete.
plasticky.
Now it's a
It's like a honeycomb.
Yeah.
high impact
Yeah, no, I've seen
plastic,
it.
and once the grass grows,
Yeah,
you're
it
not
goes.
even aware of that.
Yeah, cool.
So.
Well, I need...
So we understand your point about the historian. I guess that was missed by
That'll be
him, or
corrected. It just, we don't, usually it takes more than one meeting anyway, but we just need to know, at least as much as we can, that it is not a historic building. We don't want to make that mistake, so I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Your comments have been very good. We'll take those back to the clients, and we'll...
All right, so are you asking us to adjourn until the next
yes, we
meeting?
want to just keep
We'll
it
prepare
going.
ourselves.
So I didn't get your first
It's
name.
Dawn Harvey.
Okay.
D&D Harvey.
Okay.
I make a motion.
Yes, motion.
To adjourn the application of Emily McCarthy on Hunting Street to our next meeting.
Do I have a second?
Thank you.
I second.
And Dave.
Rob seconds.
Yes.
Jeff?
Aye.
Aye. Susan, aye.
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
And Rob, aye.
Here's stamp set.
Oh, here, let's...
There's 2 stamp sets. Would you care for any
Yeah,
of
you
these
might wanna-
sets back? We've got the 2 stamp sets.
And they'll probably change, right? So-
Yeah.
Hang on to one of them. There's a better...
No, we have to keep 2
We
no
have
matter
2
what,
anyway.
don't worry. But we could give you those back,
Okay, great.
right?
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you both.
Thank you.
The final public hearing, non-historic, is Jameson Weiner or Weiner Jameson? It's got a
62.
Jameson Weiner, that's what I thought.
62 Jennings Avenue. And this is approval to construct 552 square feet, 1- and 2-story additions to a dwelling.
Anyone things to the board?
I don't. Your name, sir? Yes, you have to pass it to Antoinette,
Alexander
please.
J. Kahn, I'm the architect for the project.
I'm sorry, your name?
Alexander J. Kahn, I'm the architect for the project. The affidavit of posting in the mail.
J. Kahn?
Yes, Joseph.
I have it.
Joseph. What happened to Alexander? Did I make that up?
No, Alexander Kahn.
Oh, okay. And you, sir?
I'm Jameson Weiner.
James?
Jameson Weiner.
Oh, you're the owner?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I should let you know we have a support of this application from Al Goodman.
Where's Al Goodman live?
Al Goodman.
You put it down on the table?
54 Jennings Avenue.
Okay.
Yes, we have 2 letters.
Great.
And another from Molly Campbell, who lives at 68
And one from Mr.
Jennings
Bennett.
Avenue.
Okay, that's close.
On his business card?
Yeah, well, he's a neighbor.
Don't see the other button. All the affidavits are there.
All the affidavits are there.
So you submitted and we've accepted the applications of posting and mailing. Thank you.
All the affidavits are
Okay, good.
And here's one from John Bennett on a business card.
Well, he lives right around the corner. You proceed, please.
We have 2 additions. One is going to be a rebuild of an existing enclosed porch, and we're going to add a master bathroom above. And the side addition is going to be an extension of the existing living room. We try to match the existing context of the house as much as possible. We try to not infringe on the existing design of the house. We try to maintain a farmhouse look. We also have samples of houses that have a flat roof deck, which we're adding.
But, okay. It's tight back there. In that back.
Tight.
Behind where you're putting this roof deck, no?
The roof deck is on the side property.
Yeah, no, I was over there, but these houses are very close together there on Jennings.
We have some pictures from the second floor master bedroom. Here and over here.
Isn't there, don't you have a pool house or a garage on the property?
The garage is in the back.
The detached garage.
Is that showing on these?
This site plan you should present to them?
Yeah, but on your proposed facades, you've dropped off the, where would the garage be? Close, on that side, yes.
No, the garage is back here.
Yeah, the garage is in
It's existing. It's over back here.
Fine, I just, right, no, I tried to.
Do you have the copy of the site?
I had to skulk around.
Do you have a copy of the site plan?
Yeah. No, I went over to look today, but there was a lot of people there. So I sort of went around by the neighbor. I didn't want to interrupt, but I looked at the property.
We're not encroaching more than the required side yard setback, the total setback.
No, I'm not saying you are. It's just when there's an elevation or I'd like to see everything. You don't have any of it.
Is one of the letters from your neighbor to the south?
Yes, the direct west.
The neighbor most impacted by
By
the
the deck?
balcony is one who submitted a letter.
Correct.
In support.
Al
Goodman.
is a neighbor directly to the west.
Is there any landscape? There's a hedge, right?
Yes, there's a large hedge.
I was skulking around your hedge, that's right. It's very nicely maintained.
These 2 pictures show looking from existing. That's the master bedroom.
That's looking out of the master bedroom, looking
West.
Northwest, kind of.
Yeah, this one's northwest, and this one's southwest, looking towards the back.
That's right.
Anyone have anything to say?
I think it's a great design. I too was at the house today, and
Were there a lot of
you kids offered me a drink, but I refused. I'm surprised they don't say, "Daddy, there's a man out here." But no, I think it's a nice design. In fact, so much so that I was taking pictures to use it for one of our other applications tonight to show how one could have a detached garage on a small piece of property. And still, so anyway, that's a long way of saying I like the design. I have no problems with it. It's compatible.
Christina?
I have no problems with it. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Rob?
I had a couple questions. I don't really have any problems, but I wanted to understand if I could.
Sure.
On the side elevations, so that would be the east and the west elevations for the addition, you have the new railing that you're putting in outside of the windows, right?
The right and the left, page A6?
Yes, A6. So you're adding this railing outside the
Yes,
addition
this
on the
is
second
more of a
floor.
decorative railing, but I want it to be two-coat just in case if anyone potentially gets out there. This is mostly going to be used as a garden. You know, have some potted plants up
Can you
there.
turn those around?
Oh, sure.
Thanks, Frank.
You're referring to these smaller balconies?
Correct. Okay. I mean, I would just say, architecturally, I like the rhythm of bringing the railing back, but it's a little funny to have a false balcony. It is essentially a false balcony there.
Yes, correct.
You know, flat roof back there is going to be, if they don't garden, even if they do, it's a maintenance issue. So it's not my purview to tell you about maintenance, but, you know, a lot of houses that have this sort of Dutch colonial form would just have that wall come down to maybe a shed roof or something.
I didn't want to impact the existing house too much. You can take a look at this rendering. This existing bathroom window. We didn't want to impact that, so we brought this as kind of a false gable. So we can bring, sorry, it's over here.
Yeah.
If we bring that same roof line across, that crosses in front of the window, which you can see on the other.
So you set that wall back in.
So I set it.
Foot and a half or.
So it looks like a gable, but it's really a false gable.
Yep.
The gambrel, sorry.
The gambrel. Yep. Okay.
So if you look at the actual elevation, if we extend that line back to the existing house, it'll hit the window, which we wanted to avoid.
Okay.
We didn't want to impact the existing house.
I don't have a problem with it.
And I actually don't have a problem with it either.
And the detailing on that railing is going to match on all three of the railings?
Yes, all railings will match.
Any other comments? Anyone from the public? Oh, you're the neighbor.
Hi.
Hello,
My
Mr.
name is
Bennett.
John
State your
Bennett.
name and address.
My name is John Bennett, and I live and own 60 Hilder Street, and my wife owns 61 Jennings, which is directly across the street from the application. To the north, since they've moved to the neighborhood, Jamie and his wife have upgraded the house significantly and in a very expensive and quality manner, changed all the shingles to wood shingles. They've been great stewards of the property, and the additions, I believe, are appropriate, tasteful, and in keeping not only with the existing house, but the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
That being said, do I have a motion to
I
approve?
make a motion to approve the application of Jamieson Weiner at 62 Jennings Avenue.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Rob?
Aye.
Christina? Aye. Susan? Aye. Jeff?
Aye. Thank you.
Carries. Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you, board. Appreciate it. Your time.
Thank you for your time.
Got it.
Okay.
Good night.
Take care.
Next, public hearings, historic. Thomas and Meredith Joyce has been adjourned to September 10th.
Was there going to be a letter?
No, Mr.
no,
Bennett was
this-
here and we
right.
accepted it last time.
Right, yep.
That being said, do I have a motion to close the meeting?
If I could, just,
okay, Jeff.
Oh, okay.
No, go ahead.
At the, well, there are two
At
things
our
I'd like
last
to
meeting,
say.
right.
One, at our last meeting, I mentioned about 79 Main Street.
Oh, yeah.
I brought it to the attention, as we agreed to do, to Chris, who was responsive enough. Charlie, this, for those who, this is the addition.
It's like 78.
To 79 Main Street. And what we approved an extension, an enclosure of an area where he was storing surfboards. And the application, the written decision, was that it would be it would be built out in like materials. When Chris went there, he noticed that these materials are in fact display shingles for racking. So the board was played on this. Chris is attending to it. And the regulations require that either he abides by the written decision or otherwise has to restore the property to its original condition. Okay, so I just want you to know that that's what was done.
Do we know whether the applicant said that that was temporary in any way, or that they planned to do something different? Or have they
apparently, it's not temporary.
That's the intent, was that would be the permanent solution.
Right. That's our understanding. Should he change afterwards? We don't know. The second point I'd like to make is that, Susan, this is a good inaugural for you. You've done a good job.
I don't know, but I tried. I'll get better.
And and thanks everybody as well.
Do I have a motion to close the meeting of the Board of Architectural Review?
We close this meeting of the Board of Architectural and Historic Preservation on July 9th, 2018.
Is there a second?
Second.
How do you vote, Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye. Susan?
Aye.
Christina votes aye.
And I'm an aye.
Okay.